Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, we've got quite a bit to go through tonight, which I will be doing in a couple of minutes. But at the very beginning of this, I want to make it very, very, very clear. I absolutely support Northern Ireland. I absolutely consider that they should be the third option, fully independent, and be a protectorate of England. That only means militarily we will assist them. They should be in control of their own community completely, because it wasn't their fault what happened and how they got created, but they are a wonderful community. And yes, I have been there, and yes, I've done a seminar. And I want to give a massive shout out to a particular group, East Belfast First Division, the EBFD. Right? So, making this very clear to everyone who's listening to this. This is not about me, and it never has been. And I am definitely not negative towards Northern Ireland. In fact, I have said on more than one occasions they're more fucking English than the English. Right? So a big shout out to the East Belfast First Division, the EBFD. I've had to write that down only because I want to make sure I want to get the shout out right. They actually patrol parts of East Belfast, and I've seen a number of things out there at the moment with the Jewish police in police cars, and how can I put this? I thought there was a law against impersonating police officers. All right, maybe I'm wrong with that, but they've got vehicles that look like police cars. They've got lights on the top, although they're not blue. They're whatever colour they are. They've got ambulances. Well, they did have. Sorry. Listen, I'm an Englishman. I laugh at things like that. But the taxpayer is the one who's now getting them brand new ambulances, right? But them ambulances are for Jewish people, for the Jewish community, right? They're living in a separate community all of their own. They're protecting their community, right? And everyone moans because the Muslims do it, except Muslims actually put Sharia law banners all over the place, right? And beat you up if you come out of an off license. But East Belfast First Division have actually created their Walden Watch, right? Constitutionally, they're allowed to do that. You are all allowed to do that and get out there and start patrolling your neighbourhoods. If there's crime, you've got citizens arrest constitutionally, you've still got that ability. And we need to take back. So they've stepped up to the mark again. The men in that area, real men, have stood up and said, we are protecting our communities. If that's what we need to do, that's what we're going to do, right? So I just want to give a massive shout out to that group of people, right? So you understand completely, I'm with you, not against you, right? When I talk about I don't want anything to do with the British or the Union, we're talking about the British Nationality Act in particular, right? And it was put in place by Fabian, and prior to that, in 1911, you got the 1911 Parliament Act, which was pushed through Parliament by Fabians and Sinn Féin, right? We was warned at the time, don't do this because you're going to create a political class and empower socialism, right? And that's exactly what's happened, right? Now these people who started off with a really small salary are on 3 times what the average person in the country is earning, with a £250,000 a year expenses budget. They can run their office and all that, right? So it's a coup, right? You're being scammed because they shouldn't be doing that, not according to our constitution, right? It was changed by the 1911 Parliament Act. There was lots of things that happened in the 1800s that started to take a bit by bit to attack the English way of life. It didn't happen just in 2005 with the Constitutional Reform Act, right? anyone who's telling you that is telling you bullshit, right? This started well before then, and even before the 1850s, right? So, are there answers other than complete secession? Which is what I am, a secessionist, right? I believe in the art of the deal. I believe I've been a successful businessman, right? I don't want to earn millions. I just want to earn enough to earn a decent living, go down the pub, earn a pound note, and be a good boy, right? People need to understand that many people will not go into business now because of the amount of regulation, the cost of employing someone. It's disgusting, right? And that is all communism, right? So before we get into all of the other bits that I'm going to get into, I just wanted to give a big shout out to the East Belfast First Division, and anyone who's met me in Northern Ireland, and there is quite a few of them, right? They know I am absolutely with them, right? But what we've got to do is make sure that and again, Ben Habib, right? He done Northern Ireland no favours whatsoever. The people who are currently supporting him still, right, have done Northern Ireland no favours whatsoever, right? He is external, technically, to the British Isles, Ben Habib. He classes himself, self-description, as a British Pakistani, right? Don't want nothing to do with the geezer, never have. And there's various reasons why I never trusted him. And I've got to be honest with you, whatever it was in the background that was telling Rupert Lowe, stand back, right? I've learned a lot, even in the last 10 years, through the vile looking glass of politics. And whatever triggered Rupert Lowe to stand back, I fully appreciate he did the right thing, right? And again, my issue will always be, and I'll just want to make sure everyone understands this, right? I am about England. I am an Englishman. The union is the lowest form of any structure in this country, right? In other words, it shouldn't affect us. If you really go back and look at the Acts of Union, it initially was technically protecting the English Constitution and the Scottish Constitution, and protecting both nations. Scotland was only brought into the Union at its request because it was bankrupt, right? And this is not me telling lies. This is me telling you the historical facts of what's going on, right? But I want people to understand something. The easiest way to solve these problems is to void the Acts of Union, to abolish the Acts of Union, right? Because all of the shit in the background goes away, right? Within 18 months, England will be rocking, right? The other way of doing it, to make sure England gets its constitution enforced and gets its common law rights back, is to go through line by line all of and there's at least 50 that I can think of, and abolish all of the laws that attacked England and attacked the rights of an Englishman, right? Once you get that, you'll understand it. Now, just to make sure I'm really, let me just see. Can you see what someone has sent me? And I just want to briefly show you this. Hopefully I've got it here. I've got a wonderful letter this morning. There is nothing that gives an indication of who sent this, but basically they sent me this. Merry old England, if you're out there. Let's see if merry old England's out there. Are you out there, merry old England? There it is. Let me see if I can put it up there so you can read. Please find enclosed a small gift, a couple of book nooks to place on your bookshelves between all those great books, and to say thanks for all of the time, dedication and passion that you have shown, and to help an ordinary person like me join the dots and understand the bigger picture as to what is really going on. I'm sure I speak for everyone who watches your show and regular podcasts. Keep up the great work. Regards, merry old England. And there's it, the little English dragon, right? And I've got some of these sent to me. Little things, you have to put them on the back, because if you try and send that to someone, I'm sure the post office would get the but I think we should bring back the English dragon as a stamp, right? And say, this is what you use in England, and it will send it out to the whole of the world. So merry old England, I am grateful for that. And what he actually sent me, well, there's the bookends, right? Just have a look. I couldn't, as soon as I got them out of the box, I was like, oh, I've got to rearrange it. I've got to put all this in there. And then you've got my little dragon, right? So let me just make sure. I'm going to pull him out. I shouldn't really while I'm live, because the whole thing will probably collapse. But there he is, look. You can't see him, but there he is. And he's grabbing hold of my books, and he's sneaking his way around, right? And hopefully soon we'll have my dinosaur. I'll probably get on Dino Dame and introduce Dino, the dinosaur, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, what I made when I was 6 years old, to say, look, he's got a tiny little brain. Let's talk to him, right? And that should wind up certain people in Northern Ireland pretending to be Northern Irish when they're not, right? So, look too good. Nice one, Grump. It's lovely to get these gifts, by the way. And like I was trying to say in the setup for the show, people can support me in many ways. Money is a big thing, obviously, right? You can't keep doing what we're doing, but and we are making a difference without any doubts whatsoever. We're making a big difference, right? People have started to listen to what's actually going on. Let me just pull that camera over slightly. People are listening to what's going on. They're understanding now that something has gone on. Merry old England, you can get them on Amazon, different sizes. Well, merry old England, it was the nuts. And I'm really, really pleased with that. Again, I've had a bad back, I've been out today, giving me a little bit of, it's a lot better than what it was. So I can move about without being in masses of pain. But all of a sudden, I could be walking somewhere, go to turn it, it'll go crack, just to let me know it's still there. Right, so I've got a scan this Thursday. What am I doing tomorrow? I'm going out tomorrow, doing some bits and pieces. I don't know if I'll be back in time for a show, but onwards and upwards. Someone has asked and sent an email, and I have done this. If you go to the Daddy Dragon, the www.daddydragon.co.uk website, there is a part on there about Article 61. And one of my friends and colleagues was a guy called John Hurst, who was one of the founding members of the Magna Carta Society, right? Him and others, there was 4 of them, can't remember all their names, but there was 4 of them, used the Magna Carta and Article 61 in 2002 because the Queen, I think it was 2002, the Queen was about to allow her assent, even by letters patent, to the Nice Treaty, which was treason, right? And there was another couple of things going on in the background, but there was, I can't remember, about 400,000 people wrote on a postcard to Buckingham Palace. So 400,000 people said, we're not having this, right? But Article 61, and by the way, this is, if you go and research this, there's 2 articles about it in the Telegraph, where the barrister who is involved with preparing it, so in other words, there is a process in law for this, right? But it's really important that people understand that lots of people out there at the moment, and I'm not suggesting the person who's asked me this question, so it's really important for me to say that, right? There's lots of people out there misinterpreting and misusing what was done in 2002. There's lots of people not fully understanding how and what the process is of enacting or the process of engaging Article 61 of the Magna Carta. right? Nothing is simple, right? And I'm not being. It wasn't me who did it. It was John and others, right? And they used a barrister, and the barrister said there's nothing wrong with these laws. Just to make sure you're aware of this, because I'm going to show you now. The Magna Carta wasn't used for 200 years, right? Um, and it was Sir Edward Coke that said we have the Magna Carta, right, and started to re-bring it in. The same as now we've got the English Bill of Rights, and no one's been talking about it. The English Bill of Rights protected the Magna Carta, right, in its entirety. You cannot repeal any of it. It's outside of the jurisdiction of Parliament, right? It was created in effect, right? So rather than me explain this to people, I've done this on a number of occasions, but because there's been an inquiry about it and a number of inquiry, I can't do this with every inquiry, but this is really important. And I'm hoping you're going to be able to hear it, right? What I'm going to do is go to this particular, and there's lots of them, including other things on there. Let me put this out there. This is really important. So if anyone's out there that wants to understand this, go on, click. I've just put out a YouTube video, right? I don't need to explain this to you, but Lord Judge, who was one of our top law lords, is going to explain this to you, and I want you to listen carefully, right, to what he says. I've put this out a million times, this clip. Watch the whole thing. It's really interesting, right? So again, Magna Carta's legal legacy, conversation with Chief Justice Roberts and Lord Judge from England. So 220,000 views. It was put up 11 years ago. Hopefully what I'm going to do now is put that up on the screen. Hopefully it shares, and you're going to have to tell me whether you can hear it, right? So here it is. It's on your screen as we speak. I'm going to hit the play button, and I'm touching wood, it's at the right angle.
I rather agree with that, and I think that what the Chief Justice has said about the Magna Carta being here in 1939 reminds us that although this sounds as though it's an academic subject, it isn't. In 1939 and 1940, there was a very strong possibility, indeed, I put it further, by the end of 1940, all Europe, bar the islands offshore, was under the jackboot. Now, it's easy for us sitting in this beautiful building to take for granted that all the things that matter to us about our freedoms are there to last forever. Well, they don't necessarily last forever. In 1939-40, England was very close, Britain was very close to losing the war. For the Charter to be here meant that it would be preserved. Of course, Lincoln Cathedral wanted it back. Any cathedral that's got a 1215 charter has got a treasure of, well, infinite magnitude. But if you don't take your freedoms for granted, then Magna Carta becomes a much more vivid, vibrant document. If I may just go back to it, there are actually 4 charters, 1215, 1216, 1217, 1225. None of them is called Magna Carta. King John never signed one, he sealed it. And the 3 things that are perhaps most important in it are one clause that people always forget. It's clause 61. And it's from this that we take the very vivid principle that nobody is above the law. No king. King anointed, God's servant, inherits by divine luck, you could call it, but right. Now, every king in medieval Europe made an oath that he'd be a good king, do lots of justice, look after lots of poor people, all the sort of things that you'd want your new king to do. But in medieval Europe, if the king didn't provide justice and so on and so forth, I'm afraid they took the view that he had to answer to God in heaven. Well, when the king's dead, it's not much good if you've had no justice or you've not been properly looked after. And what Magna Carta did was to say in clause 61, if the king does not abide by the charter when he's notified that he is in breach of it, in effect, a council of 25 barons can take over the running of the kingdom. They're not to harm him, they're not to injure him, they're not, of course, to treat him with violence or his family, but they're no longer stuck with their oaths of allegiance and fealty. This, I think, is a fantastically important moment. Suddenly, the king is answerable on earth, not just in heaven. And from this we derive constant references through the Middle Ages to the king not being above the law. The law comes first. The king comes second. He's certainly the most important person in the kingdom, but he is beneath the law. And that, I think, leads us to this, I think, really important point, which it's easy in a democracy to overlook, but which in any dictatorship would be no trouble at all. No king is above the law. No president is above the law. No executive is above the law. Everyone is answerable for his actions or her actions in court. And that leads to the second, but I'm not going to talk about this too long, but we're all entitled to justice. The clauses don't just say justice, they talk about right and justice. Now, there weren't many rights about in 1215, but over the centuries, our rights have come to be established. And you find the preservation, the entitlement to a court system that will preserve your rights is there found within the Charter. And I regard the insistence in the Charter on right and justice as being its second most important legacy to us, because again, here in the office of Chief Justice of the United States, the office I once held in England, we are there responsible for seeing that justice is available to all our citizens, even if they're taking on the president, or they're taking on the government, the prime minister in our case, or a great local body, great local authority. These rights are recognized in the Charter. The barons weren't thinking of us. The barons weren't, full of ideas about voting. Of course they weren't. But as our country developed, and then yours did from ours in the constitutional arrangements, these things became part of the country. In England now, if somebody says something, let's do something that most people would regard as diabolical and dictatorial, everybody says, it's against Magna Carta. It isn't against Magna Carta. There isn't a word in Magna Carta about trial by jury, but people think of Magna Carta as representing their rights, their entitlements, the need for justice to be done, and most important of all, equality before the law. I'm sorry I've gone on too long there.
Oh, no, that's quite all right, because that leads right into the second question that I was, and in relation of Magna Carta specifically to the law, and you'd mentioned no one is above the law specifically. So now that we know that Magna Carta is more a symbol, it represents as opposed to specific provision in there, why is it then that today that people should still cite to it, especially in law? For example, if they have a submission to the court or perhaps in a judicial opinion coming out, is there more reason other than what you might have talked about then for having references to Magna Carta? I mean, is it just simply that rhetoric, or are there real true deeper meanings for us to do that?
Well, do you want the chief to get? Do you want to go first, John, on that?
Well, sure. If you're citing to Magna Carta in a brief before...
I'm going to take that down for a second, stop sharing, and go back to this. So there's a number of things that I want to say tonight, and I really need, before I get into the next part, and I've got the law books open, I don't want to be sitting here. The education, our rights have been removed by the British state, right? That's one of the things I teach on the seminar. Things that have happened in my life and in my lifetime, I have a responsibility to the future generations to stop that damage and reverse that damage. And so do you as this audience, right? So before I get into the law books, I'm going to show you something else, hopefully, if I can bring it up on my other screen, that you all understand, and we'll understand where I'm coming from, right? So there's a particular, and I'm putting this out there because I want everyone to share these two things, and then I'm going to explain some stuff to you before everyone. Let me go to my profile, and it should tell you. So that one's up there at the moment, live the full English show. And there's some great stuff that's been sent out today by many of our members. But I'm going to try and find this if I can. Where's it gone? I apologise. I'll be with you in a couple of minutes and I'll send this out. England, One Nation. Let's see if it's on my highlights. I think I always do this wrong, and I should go to my highlights. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen. Hopefully you can all see this. If you can't, I'm going to be in a bit of a pickle. But let's go back to the main screen. Well, I sent this out. Let me go and see if I can copy this out, because we still need this retweeted. And there's another one I'm going to put out straight after, right? So again, this is really important for people to understand what it is that we're actually doing, right? So again, that's on the screen at the moment, and I'm going to bring it up. So this was sent out by me, and it's a statement from Graham Moore, leader of the English Constitution Party. The English Constitution Party will not stand candidates in opposition to restore Britain, right? Now, just to make sure everyone's clear on this, we stood candidates in Romford in council elections, and whilst we didn't win, we stopped a Conservative from winning. In fact, the Conservative was in tears, right? And it was because them small amount of votes switched to us. We are very good campaigners, and we will put people out on the streets, right? Trust me, go and ask anyone. They've always said the same thing. When you come out campaigning, you've always got, 100 people with you, because you are the audience and you believe, as I believe, that the Constitution is the solution, right? I will get further into this. We recognise that Restore Britain champions the restoration of our historic English Constitution, the reversal of mass immigration through decisive deportations, accountability for those who have betrayed oaths and laws. Remember what I've said about judiciary, the police, etc., rape gangs, including failures to uphold the Protestant settlement. Remember what I've said about Northern Ireland, and protections under the English Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights, 1688. It's the English Bill of Rights, and the defence of the English way of life. Restore Britain aligns with the Restoring England, and by extension Scotland via the Claim of Right of 1689, Wales and Northern Ireland as sovereign nations within a framework of constitutional enforcement and Christian brotherhood. In this critical cause, we stand together rather than divided. And that's from the English Constitution Party. And there is a specific line that I have put there. We are not disbanding. We are aligning the regiments, right? I want everyone to understand that. There is more to this, and I'm going to go back now and show you a couple of other things, but let just make sure you understand. This has had 1.2, let me have a quick look here. It's had 152,000 views. The comments, 275, 99.9% are positive, and saying thank you, Graham, and thank you to your membership of putting the country first. And when we speak of country, we talk of England, right? It's had 1,275 retweets It's had 4,830 odd likes. It has been bookmarked 135 times, right? So that's gone out there. But again, I just want to make sure everyone sees this. Hopefully you can hear.
But which alliance will be more important, with the EU or with Britain?
Both. I don't want to say which. Look, I think we have been with, I guess it would start off by saying England, right? You know, I asked Boris, where's England? What's happening with England? They don't use it too much anymore. We talked about it. It was very interesting.
Right. So we're not doing anything negative. We are very positive about what's going on. But this is the other one that I want to show you. And I need people to send this out as well. So I've sent, hopefully you've received the tweet and you should see it. And then I'm going to explain my reasoning. So there's the first one that goes out there, right? So get that retweeted as much as possible. We need as much help as possible on social media, right? And we're a team. It ain't about me, right? It's never been about me, but I need to go and tell you some other things. Now, on this tonight, again, I'm going to read through something, and it's the only person talking about it. So I'm taking an excerpt of what Rupert Lowe has sent out today, right? Join us, restore Britain. Accountability is what we need. Let me make sure everyone's getting this. I don't want to bring that mic in too close because I'll keep punching it. Accountability is what we need, and that is what Restore Britain would deliver. A political party to finally fight for lockdown accountability. We won't simply pretend none of it ever happened. We will ensure that it doesn't happen again, and we will ensure that those who were responsible are held accountable. That means sent to prison if there was wrongdoing. Anyone that say, and this is me speaking now, anyone that says don't vote is a communist because they're trying to stop the accountability, right? Take our revenge at the ballot box. That is what I'm suggesting to you. And then I've put vote Restore Britain. The English Constitution Party and the English Constitution Society were formed during lockdown by request. You requested it. Everyone who's a member understands that. Some of our members have passed away. Some of them had cancer. One, Durf, is still the number one member because on his deathbed, he asked that we never take that party down, right? And that he always will be the first member of the English Constitution Party, including our Lord, again, a friend. I went to the funeral up north. Lord Pett. We want everyone to know that we're never going to walk away from England or the people of England or our values or our customs or our common law or our constitution. But I've always said to you, if someone else comes along, they speak eloquently, they're pushing forward, they're saying all the right things, you can't expect us not to support them, right? No one is going to be absolutely perfect for you, right? But I will say this, and again, I want as many people to retweet this as possible. We was formed because of the anger that people felt during lockdown, right? So what I'm hoping to do here is just blow this up on the screen so you can see. I am going to read out what, and this is just one thing, right? I'm going to go into some other bits in a couple of minutes. 6 years on from lockdown, Restore Britain will quash all convictions for non-violent breaches of the lockdown rules. Nobody will have a criminal record for breaking insane laws that should never have been implemented. Think of Charlie Staples, never did anything wrong. It's in the High Court now, December of this year, right? We're still fighting for him. Here's the shocking part of this. We made an application for a private prosecution against the individual police officers that tortured him on the streets of London. That private prosecution went to the Attorney General, as by law it states, and the Attorney General turned down the application for private prosecution. We then appealed it to through judicial review. The first judge knocked it back and said totally without merit. Didn't even look at the paperwork, right? It then got appealed again to the Tribunal of Judges for judicial review, who again knocked it back, right? The point is, there's a record of all of that happening and of the claims in the High Court. When a Freedom of Information request was put in by someone else, not by me, the government come back and said no one has ever claimed torture or wanted a private prosecution or other prosecution against the police in England and Wales for torture, right? They have basically buried the very first application in this country for a prosecution under the torture laws, which stemmed from COVID, right? And what the police were doing to people like us who were protesting and petitioning on the streets of London, right? Now the BBC are putting out propaganda that people like us who are making Freedom of Information requests and trapping them, right, into making serious errors and lying in law and in effect under oath when they send out information to say there is no evidence of any prosecution, right? I just want everyone to understand what I'm saying here. The BBC are now making quasi-programs saying that people who make Freedom of Information requests are akin to terrorists, right? I can tell you that one of our members who served in the military for a very, very long time is a highly intelligent person, right? Has made a lot of Freedom of Information requests. He's one of the best I have ever seen in writing Freedom of Information requests. I won't say what his job previously was and what he was doing in the military and then after he left the military, but he is highly skilled in what he does, right? That person has been writing Freedom of Information requests, and we've been storing up in the information of what the government have been doing and lying about, right? Which we can show in a court of law, and we intend to, by the way, right? So before we get on, 6 years from lockdown, Restore Britain will quash all convictions for non-violent breaches of lockdown rules. Nobody will have criminal record for breaking insane laws that should never have been implemented. We will refund fines and the state will apologise. A line will be drawn. Vast non-COVID medical harm directly caused by lockdown and fear messaging will be properly investigated. Remember what the investigation that's just happened about the rape and torture gangs. The truth will not be concealed any longer by an establishment complicit in the guilt. Complicit is a big word, legal word, right? It was a conspiracy. We will tell the truth. Life years lost will be how we measure lockdown's impact, demonstrating the horrific suffering that is inflicted on the young, delayed diagnosis, mistreatment for cancer, heart attacks, everything. The impact on children's development will be fairly and independently analysed. The result will be presented to show the damage that lockdown did to millions of children for zero benefit. There was zero benefit to children, right? Targeted tax breaks will be introduced to industries still reeling from the impact. Pubs, restaurants, all of the people that I see, these businesses that are suffering still because of lockdown. I stood in that pub last week and a lady walked in and she still thought, and this is not me making this up, she still thought that the restaurant was under lockdown rules. right? She still thought that the restaurant was under lock. If she comes in, does she have to wear a mask, right? That was last week, right? So just think about this. There's some people who are still psychologically framed and harmed by that, right? Those who lost their jobs because they refused to take the COVID vaccine will also be properly compensated for financial loss and reputational damage, right? A Restore Britain government would apologise for vaccine mandates and passports. Those who have lost their lives because of that will be recognised. The vaccine damage payment scheme will be overhauled to actually deliver proper compensation to those affected today and to the families of those who have lost loved ones. It should always have been an entirely free choice for adults. No persuasion, no blackmail, no mandates, no coercion. Coercion is unlawful. None of it. And then he says, I hated it, right? Rupert Lowe was never jabbed. He basically told the government to foxtrot Oscar, right? Those who implemented all of this will be investigated by a fully independent commission. If they have been found to falsely manipulate and twist the evidence to push a damaging pro-lockdown agenda, they will go to prison. And just to make sure, I'm telling you now, when I campaigned in Runcorn, or we campaigned in Runcorn and Hillsby, we brought up the Lucy Letby case. She is banged up behind a fucking door now because she is a whistleblower against the National Health Service, and what they're doing to kids in our hospitals is murdering our kids, right? Through having raw sewage and incompetent people dealing with the tiniest of babies. They're already killing babies with this new law they've introduced, right? If they were found to allow the injection of healthy young children with that vaccine, knowing the damage that would be caused, prosecutions will follow. So for all of them people that went to the vaccination centres and were arrested and tried to say to the police, this is unlawful, stop what you're doing. We sent a letter out, it was used in the Daily Mail, that government stopped what they was doing when they saw what we had written in that letter, right? When we put it to the Board of Governors, when we put it to the headmaster of the school and to the form tutor of them schools and said, you are going to be held personally responsible, right? They were warned. They were warned. And then during this whole process, the government decides and Parliament decides to abolish an ancient law under English law, and it's called public nuisance. It's a fucking hanging offence, right? Why did they do it then? An 800-year law in that book, in that law book there, right? Why did they choose in 2023 to abolish that law? Because they knew what they was doing was unlawful under the common law of England. We are a threat to that system. To the many decent reform voters who hold the same concerns, if you want to campaign to put Nadim Zahawi into Parliament, that is your choice. Stay in reform. The man wanted to allow children to overrule their parents in order to take the COVID vaccine. Can you back him? Ask yourself that honestly, right? Bearing in mind it was us who designed the letter that went out to them schools that you, as the people watching this show, used, right? And that was presented to the Board of Governors of the school, to the headmaster of the school, and to the form tutor of the school. Within a week, the government pulled the whole programme because of that letter. Still on my computer, people are still holding it out there now, right? They delivered it and they put them on notice. It was a pre-action letter, right? Restore Britain will fight to keep him out. Join us. Accountability is what we need. And that is what Restore Britain would deliver. A political party to finally fight for the lockdown accountability. We won't simply pretend none of it ever happened. We will ensure that it doesn't happen again. And we will ensure that those who were responsible are held accountable. So far, that's had 123,000 views. It's had 2,000 retweets, 9,000 likes, 233 put in their folder, right? It's 385 comments. So this is what I'm saying to you, and I'm going to go back and have a look at something else in 2 seconds, but I'm going to bring that off. You're going to have to remind me to go back and show you something else. Right. I want everyone to can you all see and hear me? Give me a 5v5 if you can see and hear me. I want you to all understand one thing, right? All I've ever done is fought for you. All of the people in the English Constitution Party have signed up for membership to support you and England. That's what we're about, right? If anyone thinks that I haven't got the arsehole to carry on and keep going, but you have to look and you have to say to yourself, are these people doing what we was formed for? And the answer is yes, and they're doing much more. What we need are people like you to sign up to Restore Britain, right? And ask to be a candidate. Go through their process and become a candidate, right? We can take back this nation. There are ways of compromising, and everyone must compromise, right? They are nearly perfect. Not bang on. Listen, no one can be as perfect as me. Taking the piss, right? I'm nowhere near perfect, right? But what I am saying to you is Rupert Lowe is the only person I have ever seen put something like that out to be the leader of a political party. Let me give you a little bit of indication here. Rupert Lowe is now he's the first MP. Think of him as a DERF, right? Rupert Lowe is the first MP of Restore Britain, already in the leadership position. This is the bit that I'm giggling at. There's another 2 MPs that are currently MPs that are on their way. Right? I'm not allowed to say anymore, but wait, listen and learn, right? We are going to wipe the floor with these people, right? Now, I'm going to go back and show you something else. Now, I want everyone to understand particularly what I'm trying to say to you. Let me go back to my profile and see if I can find this. Because this is their policies that they're sending out. There it is there, I believe, right? I'll bring that up in a couple of minutes, right? The flag on the top, I get that, right? Makes me feel sick even looking at it. Considering they're the people who have took all our rights away, right? But I want everyone to understand we was created, so we're not going to shut down the English Constitution Party. That is not what's happening, right? And we are having a meeting at Mablethorpe on was it the 5th, 6th, and 7th of June? In Mablethorpe. We're going to do all that and put it out there, right? But it's really important that people come along to that and come and see us, and especially the members, because I'll be explaining in more detail what we're doing. There are some places where Restore Britain will not stand, right? And we will stand in them areas, right? If we have got support in them areas, right? I know there's a reason why they won't stand there. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a reason they won't stand there. But we've got support there. So we're still there, right? When we're a political party, we was formed during lockdowns because people were so angry about what was going on, and especially you wonderful people, right? So I don't want anyone to think that we're down in tools or laying our arms down or anything like that. We're not. We're a regiment, and we are a constitutional and common law regiment that are coming through on another flank. I need you to join Restore Britain and click the button and say you want to be a candidate, right? You haven't, all you got to do, and particularly as an MP, you will always have the support of us in the background, right? And there's hundreds of us, actually thousands of us, right? Most importantly, people need to understand that the English Constitution Society as now is in full blossom, right? More and more people are asking us, come and do a seminar, come and do a seminar, come and do a seminar, right? So the political element of this, people in politics need to be educated on what and who we are. And I'm going to get back to something else in a couple of seconds with the law books. And just to make sure that you understand what's going on. So don't think in any way that we're pulling away entirely from politics. We're not. We want to educate these people so they feel confident when they're standing up there. And Rupert Lowe, by the way, Rupert Lowe needs to understand that the English Constitution, that Parliament cannot touch our Constitution, right? And again, I'm going to just show you this because it's on the screen, and I think you should see it, right? I'm going to ask you some questions. Putting Britain first, there, right? In England, right? So, immigration and border control. Deport all illegal immigrants. Scrap indefinite leave to remain. Stricter visa controls and use detention and offshore processing. Does anyone disagree with any of that? I agree with all of that. Economy and taxation. Abolish inheritance tax for everybody, right? There's people I know who have got small sums of money from their family who have died and they've had to pay inheritance tax. It's disgusting, right? They're saying abolish. That means that if they abolish something, it was never law in the first place, so the government have to give the money back to you. Cut VAT on energy bills. Whilst I agree with that entirely, there should be no VAT, right? It is an alien tax that we cannot vote on. Lower taxes for workers. Of course, I agree with that. Support British industry. Support English industry. So again, key policy. So again, mass deportations, legality and logistics. Retaking the English castle. How can I not agree with that, right? Strengthening self-defence rights. How can I not agree with that? Restoring the British pub. Abolish inheritance tax, right? Elections and democracy. End mass postal voting. It's more than that, and here it comes. In-person voting only for most, and make our elections secure. So our argument is not about postal voting. It's about the councils bringing in teams from outside, which is what they did at the Runcorn and Hillsby election. And they just fucked it by 6 votes. But they was taking votes. This has happened in Doncaster in 2009. It also happened to Andrew Bridgeton, where the whole team was swapped out during his campaign, and they put a whole new count team in, right? Environment and infrastructure, scrap net zero policies, stop ULEZ and LTNs, invest in British energy, improve roads and services. I ain't got a problem with any of that. Foreign policy, slash foreign and aid budget, and I mean slash, only fund UK benefiting projects, put British interests first, and then civil liberties and governance, repeal the Online Safety Act, defend free speech, no digital ID system, right? Putting Britain first, restore Britain, and there it is, right? So I know people won't like, who are watching this, the British flag on there. You know what I think about it? It is the flag of Parliament. It is not the flag of England. It's not the flag of Scotland. It's not the flag of Northern Ireland. It's not the flag of Wales. It does not represent the people. Parliament does not represent the people. We have to take that back. So what I am trying to say to everyone here is remember the English Constitution Society and the education, the real education, without the slow march through the institutions is what you all need to know. So getting on to the next part of this subject, there's a couple of things I want to show you. And what I'm doing is showing you this book, right? So this is the Houseby's Laws of England, Volume 8. This is page 603, paragraph 9 41 to 993. Now, I can bring this up on the screen for anyone who wants to see it. And in doing so, I need to do it in a slightly different way. Let me have a look. Let's see if I can bring this up on the screen. Is everyone out there watching this? I don't know what that one is. Right, so I've just been resent that freedom of information request that I was talking about, right? If you want me to bring that up on the screen, I will. You have to tell me. But the government have out and out lied. And the reason is because they don't want anyone to know that the British police that cover England and Wales have formally gone through the process of taking them to court for torture. They don't want anyone on the outside to know that, right? Even though it went through the process of judicial review twice, right? And again, that case is still going to court in December the 6th, but in the civil courts. The private prosecution for torture, right? They shit themselves because no one had ever used it before, right? They shit themselves, literally, right? And I just want to make sure everyone gets this. Let me see if I can find. I do want to bring that up. If I can, I will bring it up. But I want to make sure I'll show you something else. Hopefully, I've still got it on the thing. I'm trying to find my own bleeding name on here. I can't find it. Oh. Right. So let me see if I can share this with you. And touch wood, I'm not going to show any naked women. Not that I've got any photos of naked women wrapped around me, but you know what? You know what these computers can flash up. Housby's Laws of England, 4th edition, right? This is what I'm just showing you. So what I'm going to do is literally show you this and bring it up on the screen so you can all see it as I say it. The Crown as the source of all jurisdiction, not paragraph 943. Sovereign as the source of justice. By virtue of the prerogative, the sovereign is the source and fountain of justice, and all jurisdiction is derived from her or him. Hence, in legal contemplation, the sovereign's majesty is deemed always to be present in court. And by the terms of the coronation oath, that's why you bow when you go in court, because behind the judges is the crown, and they represent the crown. You're not bowing to the judge, you're bowing to the majesty of our country, right? Meaning the law of the land. So anyone who's disrespectful in court, that's why I don't like people getting up there and start saying all sorts of things what they shouldn't be saying. Let me just pull that off a sec. Oh, I need to come across that one. Right, hopefully that still works. And by the right, so the majesty deems always to be present in court, and by the terms of the coronation oath, which is what I've told you all before, that's what I do at the seminars, and by the maxims of the common law, as also by the ancient charters and statutes confirming confirming the liberties of the subject. The sovereign is bound to cause law and justice in mercy to be administered in all judgments. This is, however, a purely impersonal conception, for the sovereign cannot personally execute any office relating to the administration of justice. That's why judges can be sued, right? Anyone who says they can't, I've got a talk book there that says they can, and they show the actual cases where judges have been sued, right? This is where misinterpretation of the law and the misinstruction of universities takes place, right? Most of them are talking absolutely bollocks, right? So what I'm going to do is take you to the next page because it's extremely important. Why ain't that gone off? Right, let's go back down. Let me see if I can find that. All right, gone back. I need to go to the next image, which is this one. It's a bit harder for me to bring this up, but I need to show you this. So again, we're going to this part, and it gives you all the cases you can rely on. This is important because I'm actually doing something at the moment with someone, and I'm using some of this. So 944 Writs and legal process. All writs run the sovereign's name and are executed by officers of the Crown, and all judges and magistrates are appointed by and derive their authority either immediately or immediately from the Crown. They must, however, exercise their authority in a lawful manner, without deviating from the known and stated forms. Right? The laws are the birthright of the people. Right? And then if you look at that, it says number 3. If you go down to the mark number 3, what does it say at number 3? This is how you read law, by the way. Act of Settlement 1700, Section 4, see also paragraph 861 in ante, right? And there's another part of that as well, which I'm going to have to look up in a couple of minutes. But 861, paragraph 861, I believe that is. So 861, 861, 861, 861, 861, relation between the Crown and the subject to govern the people of the United Kingdom. The Crown's duty towards the subject. The essential duties of the Crown towards the subject are now to be found expressed in the terms of the oaths which every sovereign is required to take before or at the coronation. The duties imposed by the coronation oath are duties imposed by the coronation oath. Right? You take the accession oath and you take the coronation oath act, that's it, right? It is what's known as a solemn oath, and for the king to go against it, which he has, he's perjured his oath and therefore abdicated. That's what I keep telling people. To govern the people of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and the dominions, etc., belonging or pertaining to them according to their respective laws and customs. To cause the law and justice in mercy to be executed and all judgments to the sovereign's power. To maintain the laws of God, the true profession of the gospel, and the Protestant reform religion established by law to the utmost of the sovereign's power, right? That's why I keep saying this is a Protestant settlement, because we were persecuted, right? People need to understand that this is still law, right? Now, I'm not going to go through the rest of it, but I'm going to, but this isn't the law books, right? This isn't my interpretation, right, of some fucking idiot as stated out there, right? Idiots, I may add, that are communists in nature. So I've just shown you that, and what I'm going to do now is reference something else, right, which is really important that everyone understands it. There are no constitutional lawyers out there, right? No one will stand up in court and protect you constitutionally, right? They're all terrified of using this information. Now, what I'm doing now is referring to this book, right? So I'm going to, let me go back to my main screen. So does everyone understand? What I try and do is show you the receipts, right? So I'll take a picture of what I've read and I will show you on this and talk about it so everyone understands what's going on, right? Here is another book, one of my favourites, Halsbury Statutes, 4th edition, volume number 10. Everyone see what that says, constitutional law. So anyone who says we haven't got a written constitution, what the fuck is that then? Right. So again, what I'm going to do is read out Edward I, 25, Magna Carta 1297. Right. We started this by showing you some certain things, but I am going to read you something that applies to everyone, including Northern Ireland. Right. And it says this. Edward, by the grace of God, of England, Lord of Ireland and Duke of Guyenne, to all archbishops, bishops, we have seen the great chart of Lord Henry, sometime King of England, our father, of the liberties of England in these words. Henry, by the grace of God, of England, Lord of Ireland, Duke of Normandy and Guyenne, and Earl of Anjou, to all archbishops, bishops, abbots, blah, 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 present Charlotte, right? And we unto our honour Almighty God. And for the salvation of the souls of our progenitors and successors, King of England, to the advancement of the holy granted to all bishops, archbishops, bishops, abbots, which is why it was so important that the bishop the other day sent that letter, which is going viral, to the king. I've also sent a similar letter to the king, right? But from the subject's point of view, barons and all free men, right? So this is what it says. The advancement of holy granted to all bishops, abbots, free will of all men, earls, barons, and to all the free men of this our realm, these liberties following, to be kept in our kingdom of England forever. All right. I just want to make sure you all understand that. Chapter 1, confirmation of liberties. First, we have granted to God, and by this our present charter have confirmed for us and our heirs forever. Count how many times I say forever. This is in the confirmation of the liberties, right? Confirmed for us and our heirs forever, that the Church of England shall be free and have all of her whole rights and liberties inviolable. That means that you cannot take them away. We have granted also and given to all the free men of our realm, for us and our heirs forever, those liberties underwritten, to have and to hold to them and their heirs of us and our heirs forever. Right? So my count there was 3 times. 4 times. It says 3 times forever in the English Bill of Rights, and it says in this kingdom for all time to come once. Right? That means you can never erase these rights. The people that are telling you that that they can do as they please, right, are lying to you. And again, what I'm going to do now is go to a particular part of this. One is, there's so much in this book, it's unreal, right? I do approve and affirm forever, right? So the statute, the first, the king's children declared inheritable in England whatsoever, and it says forever. The words and what it says, letters patent. Let me just make sure I've got another one. King and Film, Liberties franchise, not the Commonwealth. Right. So chapter 1 of the. So this is another one. Henry II, confirmation of liberties. And it basically says, again, you can't do anything against you. Chapter 1, liberties confirmed. First, the Holy Church and all the Lords spiritual and temporal and all other kings' people having liberties and franchises, and also the cities and boroughs shall have to enjoy all their liberties and franchises well used, and not repealed, nor by the common law repealable. It is not repealable, right? You cannot take these rights away. And all I'm doing is showing you in the law books, this is still law. This isn't me making it up. It isn't my interpretation. It's what the law book actually says, right? So again, I want to get into something here and show you. We've got the petition of right. Again, I talk about this a lot of times, right? And now we've got the Bill of Rights, right? Now I'm coming to something that's really important. Standing armies, subjects' rights. So we can create our own militias, right? Subjects' arms, that the subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defence suitable for their condition and as allowed by law. As allowed by law is deeply gone into. What they're actually saying is everyone by law can have a weapon for defence. What you can't do is have a weapon to use it unlawfully, and if you use it unlawfully, you will be punished by the law as allowed by law. In other words, and they were specific about murder, and they were specific about poaching, because the Lord was more worried about people gaming illegally, right? Taking game on their land. It's our food, it's not yours, right? That's what they was doing. So when it says as allowed by law, it means self-defense as allowed by law, right? And it's really, really important that people understand what that means. And you can have any weapon that you can afford, right? But what I'm going to do then is, you've got the Crown and Recognition Act, which again I bring up. Enacted in the Parliament were the laws and statutes of this kingdom, and as such ought to be reputed, taken and obeyed by all people of this kingdom, right? It cannot be, that cannot be. So now I'm going to the Acts of Settlement 1701. Remember when in the other book I mentioned that's what it said, and it said that the king had to abide by our laws. I'm taking to chapter 4 of that, or Article 4, whatever you want to describe it as. And it says this: the laws and statutes of the realm confirmed. This is still law, right? And whereas the laws of England are the birthright of the people thereof, and all the kings and queens who shall ascend the throne of this realm, all to administer the government of the same according to the said laws, and all of their officers and ministers ought to serve them respectively according to the same. And the said laws, spiritual and temporal and commons, do therefore further humbly pray that all of the laws and statutes of Islam for securing the established religion and the rights and liberties of the people thereof, and all of the other laws and statutes of the same now in force, may be ratified, confirmed, and the same are by His Majesty, and with the advice and consent of the Lord spiritual, temporal, commons, and by authority of the same ratified, confirmed accordingly. Right? They are our birthright as Englishmen, right? Whereas the laws of England are our birthright. They are our inheritance, right? No one can take them off you. But the British Parliament, illegally and unlawfully, twice have made removals of these laws. They are not allowed to do that, right? They were ultra-vires. They were hidden and buried, and I can show people exactly what they've done. And any lawyer looking at it would say, this is unlawful. You have interfered with our constitution. You have subverted our constitution. That is treason, right? So again, all I'm saying to people is, if we haven't got a constitution, these are just 2 books, right? There's many more, right? Halsbury's, just to make sure you've got this, right? The one on the right, Halsbury Statutes, is the statutes, literally, of the Constitution. The highest law in the land, as said, Sir John Laws, or Justice Laws, right? In the Metric Martyr case, Sunderland versus Thorburn, again, 2002. And there's the other one. That's the common law, right? So you've got 2 books here. Both of them say you can't touch our constitution. So why are we allowing a load of foreigners in our parliament, right, to take our liberties? The only person I've seen so far that is even talking about this is Rupert Lowe. So to me, Restore Britain is doing everything that they're saying. I mean, we're just a regiment, right? So we're just a part. We're just saying, listen, this is what you should be doing. It's the only MP that stood up and said, listen, what you done to us during lockdown went against all of our ancient rights and liberties, and we are coming for you, right? What do you think we should do? And the answer is, we've said, and I did put it to the management group, call it that, or the inner circle, and I put that out before I sent it out, and I said, tell me what you think of this, because I'm not suggesting we're folding. I'm just saying that we should be aligned because they're doing stuff that we set up for, right? And again, I've always said, it's not about me. It's not about me and the English Constitution Party. I am just the mouthpiece, right? I represent you, the membership. And if someone is coming along and says, this is what we're going to do, and we ain't backing down, he's already proved to me that he ain't backing down. He said, unlike Nigel Farage, oh, we'll hold our own inquiry. Nigel Farage, what did he do? Lost his bottle, walked away. What did Rupert Lowe do? He said to the people, you fund it, we'll do it, and I'll put money in as well. And he done exactly that, right? Ben Habib, what did he do? Ask for his fucking money back, right? So there's lots of things that people need to understand from this. And I want everyone to understand, you're never going to get everything you want, right? But this is closer than anything that I've seen so far. Right, where am I? It's 9:10. Any questions from this wonderful audience and anyone in Northern Ireland, right? If you're and there are members in Northern Ireland of the English Constitution Party, right, and the English Constitution Society, join Restore Britain. If they ask you questions about us, I don't know whether they will or they won't, right? Don't panic. Just say, listen, I'm about law and order. I'm about our rights. And Graham has always stuck up for the Northern Irish. right? Again, I'm going to give them out a big shout out again. The East Belfast 1st Division. The people out there now patrolling the streets in the evenings to protect their community from these migrants, right? Or these illegals or these invaders or whatever you want to describe them as, right? No one has got a problem with black or brown people unless you're committing crimes in this country. Fuck off, right? And let me just say this to you. If you're from Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or anywhere else in the world, and you commit a crime in England, even if you're white, you could be Polish, you could be Dutch, you could be German. You fucking commit a crime in England, right? You are being exiled. You're going to be punished and then exiled and never allowed back in the country. How's that, right? That's not race. I've just said, I don't care. You can be completely white people not tolerating it. And we do not tolerate organised crime, right? Organised crime is the danger to society. It has gone right up through the levels, all the way through, and organised crime is exactly what you're seeing. And let me tell you something, I know professional criminals have got more fucking honour than most of these MPs sitting in that parliament. I can tell you that now, right? I know professional criminals, not organised criminals, professional criminals that earn a fucking living out of crime, right? And they've got more honour than them people sitting in that fucking parliament. And they mock us by saying, oh, the honourable gentleman. Go and fuck yourself. Does everyone get it? So, again, don't think we're backing away. Listen, you've all heard me when Rupert Lowe started fucking calling people indolent, as I see it, who are mentally ill, who couldn't work, like the poor cunt in the pub who's had a fucking stroke, right? When he first had the fucking stroke, he was sitting, as far as I know, he was sitting there dribbling, right? What? Let me tell you something about that geezer, right? He's grafted all his life. He's paid national insurance all of his fucking life, right? And then someone in the pub, I'm not going to say who, a person in the pub basically had a pop at him and said, we're paying your rent. The government's paying your fucking rent. You don't fucking pay it. The man's had a fucking stroke, right? And I kept my mouth shut, right? My point is, it is his fucking money, right? It's like saying to someone who's been in a car accident, right? You've got a payout from the insurance company. Yeah, but that's not your money. It's the insurance company's. What do you pay fucking insurance for then? Of course it's his fucking money, right? So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. I will stand up and always protect the weak in this country. That's why I think real Christians are very closely aligned with Sikhs, because that's what a Sikhs do. And Sikhs are allowed to carry weapons, right, to protect the weak. And so are the English, right? Just to make sure everyone's aware of that. Chuck money, yes, the whole of Europe is an ATM. It's disgusting what I'm seeing going on. Now, I've got to tell everyone, I haven't been out to get some milk. So I'm now going to have an hot chocolate, right, with no milk in it, just water and hot chocolate, right? I need managing. I need a personal manager in my life who loves me, right? Carpentry or Carper Tony 71. How you doing? So everyone out there, have you all seen? Right? Do you agree with what I've said so far? If there's any discussion the other way, you can talk to me about it. Guna mum, as soon as it happens, now disabled. You're so right, disabled now, and it has worked all my life, but was made homeless for the seventh. The neglect to our own is real. No, I agree. Listen, I have seen it. Even myself in pain. I've been thrown off fucking building sites 3 fucking times just because I'm English, right? On one site, it was a fucking Welshman who didn't like the English. On both the other sites, they were just fucking foreigners. You had a Polish fucking manager of the site who put his brother-in-law in, who was fucking Romanian, right? You had geezers lining up down the street, sleeping in their fucking vans, who were Bulgarian, right? Didn't pay any tax to this country at all. Under the Posted Workers Directive of the EU, they were sending all of their 10% tax they was charged, right? and they were sleeping in vans on the job, but they were sending back to Bulgaria. How the fuck are we supposed to compete with that? Right, that's it. So I'm asking for people, right? In the English Constitution Party still there, still exists. We're still in the background. We're still going to do certain things, right? The English Constitution Society, we want to expand more and more, right? Because it's educational. I want people, we are doing other things with the English Constitution Society. It's the educational arm, right? It's about education, not about politics. We're telling you what the law is and how it stands, and this is the evidence of it. I will tell you what to read, what to go and learn, and so you can stand up with the same confidence as me, and you can tell a judge nicely and politely, persuade the judge, I am right, Your Honour. There it says it, right? And your job is to administer the law that the monarch swore an oath to, right? And that's it. So just making sure everyone's got that. Would love to see you do a seminar in Glastonbury, but they're lefty fools round here, the kind that would rip flags down and call anyone right of Corbyn far right. Yeah, well, they're not as big as what they think they are. I can tell you that now. They're shitting themselves, especially because of their cheating. And the key thing is, we stated during a trial in Chester exactly how they was committing the fraud. And people like Rupert Lowe and his team should be listening to what we're presenting as evidence, right? And the evidence was presented by the returning officer was the people counting the votes didn't even come from that local council. They was brought in from Liverpool and St Helens, right? And other areas, right? And they were saying, we trust them people. They're fuck. Would you trust? No, I'm not being rude to anyone from Liverpool, bearing in mind how red it is, right? When I say red, I mean communist, right? Would you trust anyone from Liverpool being pulled out of Liverpool and said, go and count them votes for us? White Dragon, Thetford had some lovely seats in the 90s, educated children on why they had sold. Yeah. Great library. I just want everyone to understand what's going on. Cheers, Graham. Take good care. I will, Drew. I will try to. HS, none of them are above the law. Politicians left these twats. Yeah, that is exactly what they are. I'm still waiting for other people to say that they will not stand a candidate against Restore Britain. I can't see. I mean, you know that that in particular for me was why we founded the English Constitution Party. It was against all our freedoms and liberties, and we done a lot out there. We caused the government a lot of problems. We got a lot of not guilties for people in court. We got a lot of people abandoned their 10 grand fines. They didn't proceed with it because of what we was doing. Guna Mum, liberal debauchery weakens nations. Even King Alfred said morals were important for a strong nation. Morals are important, very strong nations. And I think it was Winston Churchill in the Archibalds, it still says that the stored up strength of the nation can be measured on how it treats its prisoners, right? So when police officers go around beating people up, taking them into custody, smashing them down, that ain't the way that England should work, right? Every police officer should understand, or police constable should understand our constitution. That was removed from their education and training. That's it. So I want everyone who possibly can. By the way, we've got over 1,200 viewers tonight. On all the platforms, which I'm really pleased about. Listen, I can't do what I do unless you assist me. I've got wonderful people that send me gifts like that. Listen, I ain't got money. I don't drive around in a fucking Rolls Royce. I'm not wearing designer clothes. Anyone that knows me knows I am just a normal, everyday person, right? I love my country. I love the law. And most importantly, I love you lot, right? And everyone should understand that. I used to be in the British Constitution group back in the Ranger Haze days. Yeah, there's a lot of people who've done a lot of damage in the early fucking about doing things and people taking on stuff that shouldn't do, right? So 1,200 people watching. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution, right? The dragon was our original flag. If you want to know history of what really happened there to our flag, it's a long history, but there's people who know that history better than me. But all I'm saying to you is this movement and what we do, Rupert Lowe originally wanted to build a movement. We're still part of that movement. We are that movement. We're a regiment for the Constitution of England, for the common law and the constitutional rights of the English, right? That's it. Anyone out there that says, you know, we want to send all black people and all brown people home, that ain't a bit of us, right? But if you was to do and take forward the plans of Rupert Lowe, which isn't that, to send everyone back, right? But we will take this country back. We will remove and abolish, very important, the word abolish means void in law. It's never been law. And we will bring back all our rights. That's all I'm asking for. And if we can do that, we are returning the eternal flame of freedom from our ancestors that they passed to us, and we will pass that to the next generation. And then we will achieve what we wanted to achieve. It's not about money. It's about liberty. It's about freedoms, and it's about saving our country. That's it. I will say good night. God bless. And I hope you've all enjoyed tonight's show. And I will be back hopefully tomorrow night, but I am going out tomorrow. If not, I will definitely be back Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, even though Thursday I'm doing a scan. But we're still looking at me things. So that's it. And if you want to donate to me, please do. Coffers are low at the moment. And we need to still be out there, still doing stuff. And again, there's some banners and some other stuff I want to buy and start creating this presentation. Eventually, I'll need another camera as well because I want to get 2 lots of cameras and the sound right on them. And it will be fantastic. Holly England, great show again, DD. Night and God bless. Good night to everyone and to everyone that is currently go and do it, right? I know it's 20 quid. You'd rather donate it to me. 20 quid and ask to be a candidate, right? Go through the process and just see what they're saying. If they ask any questions about me or the English Constitution, if they go through your profile and everything, you just simply say, I believe in the rule of law. I believe in constitutional rights. I believe in common law rights. And they were stolen from us and we need to stand up. That's all you got to say, right? And keep the fucking free man of the land fuckwits out of the game. That's it. Thank you. God bless. And see you all later.